First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to a special playoff edition of the BS Report. We have a lot of special guests, but let's start with Aaron Schatz from Football Outsiders, who's going to help us with our round one playoff picks. Aaron, you there?
Yes, I am, and ready for the big weekend of the playoff action, yes.
It's an exciting slate of games. First of all, congratulations on nailing the Washington and Tampa Bay sleeper picks.
Yeah, we did pretty well this year with the sleepers. I mean, I wrote the thing for Slate before the season, and it said Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Washington, and all three made the playoffs, so that wasn't half bad right there.
Didn't you have Tampa Bay too?
Yeah, our numbers had Tampa Bay. We didn't believe them.
Oh, really?
We thought the Hurricane was kind of still screwing with the New Orleans numbers from 2 years before, and you looked at Tampa Bay, and it just looked like they had a lot of players there that were stopgap type veterans. I mean, Garcia and Ike Hilliard, and but a lot of those stopgap type veterans came through, and then they built a good kind of young guys on the offensive line, and Gaines Adams started to come on at the end of the year, so they were actually a pretty good team this year. I still think next year those guys who are old are all a year older, but for now they're a pretty good team.
Now, for anybody who's not that familiar with Football Outsiders or the book that you put out every year, you guys have, I don't want to say mastered, but you're getting pretty close to figuring out the correlation between numbers and football. And before the season, you crunched all these different numbers. The numbers told you Green Bay and Jacksonville were going to be good. The numbers told you that Washington was going to be good. And the numbers also said that last year's Tampa Bay season was a lot better than their record indicated. Now, all four of those things basically bore out. So you got to feel good about the system.
Yeah, I mean, Washington would be okay. Not, I don't think we had them challenging for the division title or anything, but that their defense would be better. It was the worst third down defense, in the last dozen years or something.
Yeah, but you had a whole chapter about how basically there was no difference with them and the Colts in terms of not having any depth, and that if they could stay reasonably healthy, they should be pretty good.
Right, except for the absence of the superstars, which we said Harrison and Manning, and I think we learned this year that it's actually just Manning.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, they avoided injuries better than last year, although obviously they had some. One in particular was sort of, fatal.
Right.
But they managed to emotionally come through that one and play the best defense of the whole season over the last 4 weeks, despite the absence of Taylor. So.
And that was, what happened with the Redskins is something that, your system is never going to be able to account for, which was that they lose Taylor. They have Todd Collins come in, and yet the emotional lift or whatever was going on with the post-Taylor thing pushed them to a level that they didn't play at for the first 3 months.
Walpole's own Todd Collins. Officially named around here, kind of like Canton's own Bobby Witt.
He's pretty good, too.
Yeah, it's a little shocking, isn't it? It was Damon Heward last year. I mean, listen, you have to look at these veterans with a little bit of grain of salt there, because once guys had a whole off-season to look at tape of Heward, they sort of figured out whatever his deal was, and he was pretty bad this year. But teams don't have an off-season to figure out Collins. They have 6 days.
Right.
So,
well, maybe that'll be the new trend, because, and I think you even saw it with Derek Anderson. After about 7-8 weeks, Derek Anderson was who we thought he was. But, who knows?
At the same time, we thought that was going to happen, or we at least wrote that there was a reasonable chance of that happening with Romo this year. And, of course, the opposite happened, which is one of the reasons why Dallas is the team we got the most wrong out of any team.
What did you have them?
We had them dropping to 6-10, although I think we all wrote before the season that the numbers seemed way too strong, that they weren't going to drop that badly, but we didn't expect them to win the division. And they certainly, they were the best team in the NFC this season, although they really faded in the last couple of weeks. And Romo's been really good. It almost makes you wonder whether sitting on the bench for 3 or 4 years is like a filtering system for these backup quarterbacks, these undrafted type guys. If they sit on the bench for that long and then they come in, you've got to assume maybe that they're going to be good, because if they were going to be bad, like Rohan Davey, they would be out of the league by that point. If a guy like Romo or David Garrard is sitting on the bench for that long, he must be doing something right in practice. I wonder, we're going to have to go back and study that, but there's definitely been a lot of these undrafted quarterbacks kind of doing a lot recently, but they don't really do it in the first year or two in the league. They do it after 3 or 4 years in the league. Guys like Del Home, for example.
Well, let me throw a counter at that for you. Jim Sorgi. He was terrible.
Sorgi was really good a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, Manning sits on the bench because we've clinched everything time, but this year he wasn't.
I think you guys need to break down Sorgi versus Castle. Castle.
I'll be honest, I'll take Sorgi.
You would?
I'll take Matt Gutierrez.
Well, I think Matt Gutierrez is the guy for the future. Though, I think there should be some sort of column that you guys could figure out about guys who came on the last 2 months. Like, I remember Scott Mitchell. Remember he had that one year where he played 6 games?
Oh, the big thing is these running backs in Week 17, because they all hope that they're Willie Parker. Willie Parker, undrafted guy, comes off the practice squad a couple years ago. Great Week 17 game. We're all going, yeah, whatever. And then, of course, he turned into Willie Parker. But all the other guys who did that, guys like Chris Taylor, and those guys never did anything. So this year you've got Darius Walker, and you've got Pierre Thomas, and people are all going to be so excited going into next year thinking there may be Willie Parker, but they're probably more like all those other guys who came out in Week 17, had big games, and then disappeared. Whatever happened to Bruce Perry from the Eagles? I mean, these guys just completely, nobody ever heard from them again.
So you're saying like 10% chance?
Yeah, I watch out for those big Week 17 running backs. They only turn into Willie Parker if they're Willie Parker.
Well, I think we're already looking at the most disappointing fantasy running back next year. I'm just calling
ridiculous.
it now. Michael Turner for next year.
Oh, you think it's good? I think, it really depends on where he goes. I think he's got talent, but if he goes to a place where there's not a good offensive line, people are going to be really disappointed.
Somebody is going to talk themselves. I think he's the guy who will gain the most steam. You know who's the most secretly disappointing guy this year is Jarius Norwood, because he actually played every game.
Yeah, but he was great when he played. It's just that the coach had no idea what he was doing.
Well, that probably is true.
I think the most disappointing guy is Rudy Johnson because he was so consistent for so many years, and then this year, and there wasn't like he had been overworked, and it wasn't like he's that old. He just all of a sudden just fell off the bridge.
Well, I would say anybody who took a first-round pick on Lawrence Maroney would probably disagree with you. He didn't turn it on until like the last 2-3 weeks of the season when everybody was already out of the playoffs because they had him.
Yeah, I think from now on we can all assume that Bill Belichick is not giving 300 carries to any running backs.
Let's just, for once and for all, just take Brian Westbrook, would you? I mean, seriously, how many years in a row does this guy have to go like 5 spots after where he should have gone and then have
I think we had him ranked like 3rd or something in our rankings. So
people are just, it's like he's the new Tiki Barber. Like people just refuse to admit that he's good. Let's get to the playoff
Does that mean he's going to retire in a year and go on television?
And be on Carson Daly's New Year's special? I don't know. It was good to see him. Let's go to the playoff games because I know you probably have been crunching numbers and I know you probably have some thoughts. In my opinion, the toughest game to figure out is this Jacksonville-Pittsburgh game. Right now, Jacksonville is favored by either a point or a point and a half at Pittsburgh, depending on where you get the line. But where do you guys see this game going?
Well, numbers-wise, in the DVOA stat that is weighted towards the end of the season.
Explain that DVOA stat.
DVOA is our
30 seconds.
Main stat, takes every single play during the season, breaks it down, compares it to the average for the league based on situation and opponent, and we have a version that drops the importance of the earlier games near the end of the season. So in that version, Jacksonville is the number 2 team in the league behind New England. And Pittsburgh is down to like 9th or 10th. The defense has been a problem in the last couple of weeks. And you can't tie it all to the injury to Aaron Smith, but that's definitely around the time that became an issue for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And obviously they've got offensive line problems. They're now on their 3rd offensive tackle, which, given how much Roethlisberger was sacked already this year, is a serious problem. And Jacksonville is just, everything's going right. They're the best offense in the league over the second half of the season, better than New England.
Really?
Yes. Although obviously they weren't, they didn't play quite so many games in the wind, but I mean, they were, slightly better than New England over the second half of the year. On the other hand, these two teams played 3 weeks ago, and everybody is acting like Pittsburgh got blown out of the water. It was a 1-touchdown game.
Yep.
It was not a blowout. It was a close game.
I have a question for you. You might not be able to answer this, but when was the last time that Jacksonville has trailed in a game?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. There was a game where they were trailing early against a good team over the last couple of weeks. I mean, they weren't really trailing against Oakland or anything, but.
Well, because that's my concern.
I mean, they lost the last week, but that was, they weren't playing anybody.
My concern with them is that they're one of those teams that's built to either be in a tie game or have a lead and protect the lead, or be up by 3, be up by 7, and it sets up everything they're doing. But what happens if they're in Pittsburgh and they're down 13-3 in the third quarter and they have to start throwing the ball? I don't know if I trust them.
Especially because Pittsburgh, by our ratings, is the number 1 defense against running backs in the passing game. So if you suddenly have to pass a lot and you can't run Taylor and MJD, but you want to throw them out on pass patterns, those outside linebackers from the Steelers are very good against that kind of stuff.
This game reminds me, that the teams are different, but it reminds me a little bit of the Pittsburgh-Baltimore, or the Baltimore-Indy game last year, where Baltimore was one of those teams that was good when they had a lead, but as soon as they fell behind and McNair had to basically win the game, he probably wasn't going to do it.
Man, well, I hope Garrard doesn't choke in this one the way McNair did. That was horrible last year.
Yeah, and I don't know. Who are the Jags receivers that you trust?
None.
Right.
Not their receivers. Their quarterback, listen, I have completely come around on Garrard. I think he's fabulous. The receivers, who knows?
Yeah, he's fabulous, but he's fabulous when he's in that kind of Steve DeBergian role where he's doing the play actions and the rollouts.
That's a good adjective right there. I like
he's
that.
DeBergian. Yeah. But I worry about them, and I haven't decided on this game yet, and I'm probably leaning toward Jacksonville just because I just don't like the way Pittsburgh's been playing. But I do worry that Jacksonville looks too obvious in this game.
Yeah, it is kind of an obvious-looking one. I think it's more of a toss-up than people might think.
Yep.
Home field advantage does mean something for all of this, Jacksonville's built for the cold type talk.
Right.
But at the same time that they're built for their cold, is their secondary built for the non-cold?
Yeah.
Against against Roethlisberger and Brady and Manning and whatever, if you're in a dome or it's a crisp New England day where it's only 30 degrees with no wind. I mean, that kind of thing does happen too. They do look like the classic out-of-nowhere wild card team that gets it all together at the end of the season and marches all the way, except that they picked the entirely wrong year to be that team.
And the wrong conference.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. And as a Pats fan, my ideal scenario would be Pittsburgh winning, Tennessee beating San Diego.
Yes.
Actually, I wouldn't mind San Diego coming to Foxborough in the AFC Championship game either, but I
don't know if I could trust Norvalicious to win 2 playoff games, let alone 1. So,
yeah, I think he's probably going to win this. Actually, let's talk about that. San Diego at home against a Titans team that just isn't that good, and they're I think giving 9.
It's all defense.
Right.
It's all defense. The quarterback can't pass. He's not even scrambling for good value anymore. Of course, he's hurt, and they might play Kerry Collins, who I don't think anyone trusts. There's no receivers there whatsoever. The running game is average at best. There's a good offensive line, but it's all defense. And the kicker, best kicker in the league.
Well, and when Hainsworth plays, they have a different defense than when he doesn't play.
Right, and he will be playing. I mean, he is playing at this point, but they had a close game. The San Diego and Tennessee did, but that was in Tennessee. You flip it around now and you put it in San Diego, where the Chargers players I think are coming off a little more rest. And I mean, I definitely think the Chargers are the clear favorite here. A lot of us are sort of waiting for Norv Turner to do something colossally stupid that cost them this game, but that's not really something that the numbers would bear out. So our guts may say that, but the numbers certainly, would expect San Diego to win.
I watched that first game, and San Diego did everything they possibly could to lose in the first 3 quarters in Tennessee, and Tennessee was like, "Look, we're not taking the game."
Rivers was so bad in the first 3 quarters of that game.
God, what are your numbers on Rivers?
He's average. He had a hard schedule this year. I emailed you about this. The people listening don't know regarding your quarterback column where you rank the quarterbacks. And even after last week where he played an amazing game, I still think Rivers is better than Eli Manning.
Wow.
Well, I don't think either of them is that spectacular this year.
Well, and that was what was so annoying about that Pats-Giants game is that for the first 2.5 quarters, we never blitzed Eli. And at that, I called my dad midway through the third quarter. I was like, just play our backups if we're not going to blitz Eli Manning. Like, either we should be trying to win this game or we shouldn't. And then finally, Belichick released the hounds on him. That was it. He never did anything.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, you want to go on to the third game, the Giants game. This is a pattern, okay, where a team will have one really huge game in like the last game of the regular season or the wild card game, and everybody will talk about how hot they are going into the next game. Mm-hmm. But the way to tell how good a team is not one game. It's looking at a trend over the last 8 or 9 or 10 games. And as wonderful as the Giants were against the Patriots, and it was an amazingly well played game by both sides.
Yep.
Over the last 8 or 9 weeks, their trend is just down. I mean, This is the same team that got clobbered by Minnesota. And I think you can't look at last week's game and go, oh, they gave the Patriots a game, and Tampa Bay's been resting people, so boy, watch out Tampa Bay. I mean, you look over the last 8 or 9 weeks, and Tampa Bay is just so much better than the Giants over the whole period that I think that by far this is the least close of the 4 wildcard games.
And Tampa is a little bit similar to Minnesota in that they don't, or at least the way Minnesota played in that Giants game, where they're going to control the running game, not make mistakes, and
right. And also the fact
pressure
is,
Eli.
You get to Garcia with that awesome pass rush, you'll sack him some. He takes lots of sacks, but he will pull the ball down and run at like the slightest, like you breathe on him lightly, and he'll take the ball down and run, which can be a problem, except that he always runs forward. So a lot of those great pass rushes by Umenyiora and Strahan are going to turn into 4 and 5 yard gains.
Well, I do worry about that. That is the thing with the Giants that I worry about, is that they rush the passer so well, and that they do that one thing better than anything that Tampa does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, and I just can't see their secondary keeping up with Galloway.
Does it worry you that Garcia hasn't really played a lot the last 7 weeks?
No. Looking back at the past, the fact is there are some teams that sat players and didn't do well, but there are plenty of teams that sat players and did do well. Wasn't a problem for the Eagles in 2004, for example. And I think that the Colts in 2005 had other outside issues that had nothing to do with whether their players rested or not. So, I'm not really worried about the fact that Tampa's been sitting people.
So your numbers say Tampa in a game that might not be close.
Yeah, they're like 6th or 7th, and the Giants are 16th. For the year, the Giants are the worst team in the playoffs by our ratings. In our ratings, the top 10 teams made the playoffs, and the Washington was basically tied for 11th. And then you have a gap, and then you have the Giants.
That doesn't account for the Eli Manning face either.
No, well, the thing about Eli is, man, you saw him last weekend, and it just made you bang your head against the wall. Where the heck has this guy been the rest of the year?
Because they weren't pass rushing him. That's why.
But it was more than that. He wasn't doing the thing where every ball is 2 feet over Plaxico Burress' head. I mean, he was accurate. It wasn't just a lack of pressure. It was just better than he usually is.
Well, you know what?
You just had to smack yourself. Giants fans had to be saying, if this guy was here the whole year, we would have won the division.
You know why, though? He had a bet with a teammate that he could really seriously injure Plaxico Burress, but it was only for the first 16 weeks of the season. That's why in week 17 it was dead on.
Bill Barnwell's line, one of our writers, is that Manning thinks there's a box above Plaxico Burress' head, like a foot above, and if he hits it, like a mushroom comes out and he gets a free life.
That's good. I always thought he was trying to just be part of like the ESPY Play of the Year. Like if it was like just the greatest catch ever, he would get to go to the ESPYs.
Can Plaxico Burress show more hops than the NBA Slam Dunk champion? Let's see how high we can throw it.
Well, it reminded me of what we grew up with, where Steve Grogan, and this actually isn't funny because he actually ended up paralyzing Darryl Stingley, but for 15 straight years, he threw pretty much 70% of his passes 2 feet over his receivers' heads. And that's what we grew up with.
It's not what I grew up with because I was still living in California in the Grogan years. I moved to Massachusetts in time for the exciting, Rod Rust years.
So you missed. See, Grogan was really. I mean, if I was a receiver, I just would have retired over playing with him.
No, I grew up with Eric Dickerson. It's a much better memory.
Nice. What is the fourth game? I can't remember it off the top. Seattle-Washington.
Seattle-Washington.
All right. So what do your numbers say for that?
Seattle's better. I mean, look, it's awful impressive what Washington's been doing over the last few weeks, but it's not like Seattle has been fading. The Washington's defense really has been over the last 4 weeks. It's their third down. It's the whole third down defense thing again with Washington. Even though their third down defense was better than it was last year, their defense in all downs was better than it was last year. Up until 4 weeks ago, it was still pretty bad compared to the rest of the league. It was just much better than it was a year ago. Over the last 4 weeks, they've had the best third down defense in the league. That's actually what's done this more than Collins and Portis. Not to begrudge what Collins and Portis have done over the last 4 weeks. It's a tough game. I mean, I honestly still don't trust. The Seattle defense comes out so well in our numbers, but I don't really still trust their secondary. But at the same time, Santana Moss hasn't really been himself this year, and Antoine Randall isn't the kind of receiver that really scares anybody. So I'm not quite sure how much Washington can take advantage of that.
Washington is the one team that defies your numbers because there's really no way to logically look at what's happened over the last 4 weeks.
Well, I mean, they've improved over the last 4 weeks, so the numbers are measuring that by this point. There's no doubt there's that emotional thing that they've got, but that does run out at a certain point. I mean,
you would think.
As good as they have been, at a certain point, whatever the emotional lift is will run out. I mean, they didn't, that first week against Buffalo, they were just so numb, you just certainly didn't see it. I know a lot of Seattle fans are worried about this game, but I still think, Seattle is the favorite. They're the home team. I did check. Washington is average in false starts, which is important when you go to Seattle because there's more false starts at Qwest Field than any other stadium in the league. It really is true what they say about it being really loud there and that the opponents have trouble, even if they're not Luke Pettigrew. So,
what do your numbers say about Joe Gibbs' senility versus Mike Holmgren's incompetence?
It's so hard to criticize him or anyone in Washington for anything that happened that week, but yeah, that was a problem.
I have a feeling that this game is going to come down to one of those two coaches committing a boner. I love using the word boner.
It's been years and years and years here, and Holmgren's clock management skills in a tight game still have not improved.
No.
Really weird. It's really weird. It seems like the kind of thing, him, Andy Reid too, it seems like the kind of thing that guys should learn. Coaches, great coaches, should learn. And yet there's constantly games where he has clock management problems at the end of games. And the other thing is, if Seattle fans ever see another draw on 3rd and 15, one of them's going to hop out of the stands and stab him.
Well, it goes back to my theory that there should always be a 16-year-old video game savant on the sidelines telling the coach what to do when you're down 10 with 2 minutes left. Tom Coughlin did it last week. He could have kicked the field goal from the 27 before the 2-minute warning, had 2 timeouts, and still had a chance to get an onside kick and a touchdown or a stop, and instead is just plowing down the field like no rhyme or reason to anything.
Yeah, but I mean, part of his Manning was definitely going to the Donovan McNabb School of Clock Management last week.
Yeah, that was good.
Sponsoring his way to the line. Oh, we're down by 10 with 4 minutes left. But hey, I'm just going to take my time here. La la la. Wonder what's going on.
We got to run, but I'm having you on again next week if that's okay.
Definitely, man. We could rock all the way through the playoffs.
Yeah,
and I'll be doing the
like
stat notebook on the ESPN NFL page.
I like your numbers, and your resume this year is really, you have to be proud of that. You couldn't ask for a better resume.
Dallas fans can make fun of it, but for the most part, we've done a good job.
All right, so we could check you out on footballoutsiders.com.
Yep.
And I guess there's no reason to buy your book anymore.
Well, it's still got lots of good stuff in it, and I believe it's discounted.
Oh, discounted.
Yes.
Well, I'd rather, okay, so buy the discounted book and get ready for the 2008
We're probably on
edition.
Remainder at your local bookstore by now. So.
All right, we're going to have you on next week. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
All right, take care. All right, we're going to do a thing. I'm going to call some of my friends who root for the teams involved in round one, and we're going to talk to them for 4 to 5 minutes to see how they feel about their team heading into round one. First, we're going to call my friend Rob Stone, who you know as the college football sideline guy for ESPN, as well as our head bowling guy, and he's a gigantic Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. So let's give him a ring and see how he's feeling.
Hello?
My God, it's a stoner.
God, it's Bill Simmons music.
What's happening?
Getting fired up for the PBA event this weekend in Reno, Nevada.
Yeah, do you have any bowling events you want to plug or no?
I'm going to Reno this weekend.
Reno, there's no happier place in the middle of January than Reno.
Hello, Reno. It's the coldest, miserable little town in America.
First of all, congratulations on the pepper eating clip, which you became a YouTube sensation along the lines of the Chocolate Rain guy and the Leave Britney Alone guy. I know you're
bizarre. It's like my sex tape, although not nearly as exciting.
Yeah. Well, the sex tape would be exciting.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't be excited, but I'd be excited that I had a friend that was in a sex tape.
Yeah. Well, I'd just be excited to be involved in anything with the word sex right now.
Yeah, that's right. You just said you already had a 2-year-old son and you had twins, and I emailed you last week to ask how everything was going. And your response was, the day is okay, but we fear the night.
It's miserable when the sun sets. I mean, it's like, Billy, we don't even want to go to bed because it's just because we know pain and agony is right around the corner.
You're like Will Smith in I Am Legend. You're fine during the day, and then at night you're like in a bathtub with a rifle.
Oh, my God. I wish I could be in a bathtub. That's why I seek the road out. I'm like, you got any other random events at ESPN for me to do? I'll be there. Can I go early and stay late? I'm your guy.
I was so disappointed you weren't at the New Year's Eve event where the guy jumped the football field or whatever the hell happened.
I saw Mark Schlereth and I'm blanking, Joe Tessitore, the boxing guy. I'm like, How did I not get on that random event? Was my name even brought up in a meeting?
It was a slap in the face.
It was. Well, I was busy working on the Outback Bowl because there's not enough bowl games out there these days.
Hey, let's talk about the one happy thing in your life right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ahoy!
Yes. You're favored by 2.5, I think, against the Giants. How are you feeling? What is the mood? You live in Tampa Bay. What is the mood in Tampa Bay this week?
I'm not sure what the mood is. That's a good point because it's a quiet optimism. I don't think anybody really expects much of the Bucs, period.
Really? Like beyond round one?
I don't think there's even that many people thinking high hopes about getting out of round one, to be honest. I think,
wow.
Which is kind of, in one way, it's kind of nice because they're like, well, if we do, that's great. If not, we kind of saw it coming. I don't think anybody really has fully grasped that the Bucs won their division because everybody in their conference or their division was so bad this year and had so many issues, and the Bucs just kind of quietly did it. There were no like big sexy plays or games that were all over SportsCenter where people were like, oh man, watch out for that. I mean, has anybody said watch out for the Bucs this year at all?
No.
And if the Bucs were on the road, there's no way they're winning. That's why I'm saying the Bucs are one and done tops. And I love my Bucs, but they've been miserable on the road this year. And I don't know if they're going to be able to even get by the Giants this weekend. But I kind of like their chances. I love this Ernest Graham guy from Florida. I love these underdog stories where the guy tears it up in preseason. And he finds himself on the bench, and that's been the way it has been for Ernest Graham for the last couple of years. And he finally gets his chance. He's really making the most of it. And Gruden, boy, man, people are all over his tail in the off season, Bill. And
I saw it when I was in Tampa. Remember how those Gruden shirts were on sale at the sports store we went to? I thought that was a bad sign.
They were right next to the Trent Dilfer jerseys,
right?
And the Warren Sapp and John Lynch.
Well, I think I have one reason why fans might not be that excited because they finished 9-7.
Yeah, and how they finished with a couple losses. I mean, even though you're pulling your players, losing on the road to San Fran and at home to Carolina, and I understand why they did it, and I think I would have done the same thing. I know there was all those debates last week about, should the Giants go at full strength to take care of the Pats and, end that streak. And, man, all that matters is the playoffs, and the Bucs are not that deep. Right. And if they lost any of their marquee guys, forget about it. I mean, it's just not going to happen. They're so thin at running back. If Jeff Garcia goes down at quarterback, they're hosed. Wide receiver, they got graybeard Joey Galloway, who still gets it done, but outside of him, there's nothing sexy out there. Derek Brooks somehow still gets it done, but the Bucs are not deep. That's why I don't think they're going to go deep in the playoffs either.
Well, the one thing you might have in your favor, Raymond James Stadium versus Eli Manning. How would you rate? Isn't that what it's called, Raymond James Stadium?
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. How do you feel about Raymond James Stadium on a scale of 1 to 10 being able to affect Eli?
I'd say a 6, maybe. In the old days, I'd say a 9. In the Bucs' heyday, that place was awesome, man. They really got fired up and into it, and I love shooting off the cannons. I'm such a sucker for that stuff. That and flyovers. I don't know what it is about a flyover.
Yeah.
It totally jacks me up. I sit there and I just start going USA, USA all the time, and people just kind of look at me. I'm like, all right, just a 5-second thing. Yeah, it's gonna be. It won't be that big of a deal. I think Eli's pretty fired up that he gets to go to warm weather.
Yeah, what's the weather like? That was my other question.
Actually, we're in a people in the Northeast and the Midwest after they're shoveling themselves out right now are like, oh, they're in a nasty stretch. It's in the 50s right now, but. I had to slap on the Colgate sweatshirt and put on some sweats to take the boy to the park today. So We're actually going to get below freezing tonight. We got like a 2 or 3 day nasty cold streak, but it's going to be clear and fine. It's going to warm up for the weekend, so weather will be fine. It's fun. Playoff football in warm weather here in Florida in January is awesome. I really enjoy it, but I think Manning and the Giants are happy. And the wild card for me is Brandon Jacobs. Some days I just love that guy, and other days he kind of worries me. If he's on, I think the Giants are going to win this one.
So you're not as optimistic as I thought you might be.
Sorry to disappoint you.
No, it's interesting info.
No, I mean I like him. I'm cheering for him, but no, I have very low expectations for him. And I know if they win, that's it. I'll watch another game, but who wants to watch when you know your team's going to lose? It's miserable. It's
inspiring words from Rob Stone.
You like that?
Yeah, we got to go. I'm going to have you on you're going to be the first guest we got to do the soccer, the whole thing. We just got to bang it out. But we're going to do it probably next month. But also, we got to do a college hoops game.
Yeah, we got to schedule that. And you're going to come bowl with me, right?
Yes, I'm going to come bowl with you. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. All right, good luck with the kids.
I can't believe Aaron Andrews was the first sideline reporter on before me, though. I can't
He's
let
better
that.
looking than you. I'm sorry.
I can't let that go.
Yeah, you're going to be the second. You're going to be the second sideline reporter, unless we can get Michelle Tafoya.
And we can delete this interview stat.
All right, good luck with the kids.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care. All right, it's playoff time. Got Cousin Sal on the line. He whooped my butt with the picks, but we decided to extend it to the playoffs. So you're leading 9-8 through 17 weeks. Sal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Bill.
You got to be excited.
I am, and it's the same old thing with it's coming to an end in a month, and that's very sad. And,
yeah, you get sad. Let's talk about that. You get you start like once we hit the playoffs, you almost become nostalgic for what hasn't even happened yet.
Right. I mean, like this week, both our teams have byes, so we won't get to watch them play, and that kind of stinks. And then next week's like the last week. You can make a 3-team teaser, and then and then the 2 teams. A lot of it has to do with gambling and my degenerate nature, but it is very sad. Yeah.
Well, every week we pick the lines, and you know what? I thought about it. I'm not going to act and pretend like we didn't do this on Monday night.
Okay.
So let's go through the lines, and we'll say who they picked, and we can talk about the games. Cause
all right.
I think we owe it to the American public for not to do the charade that we didn't do this on Monday night. And the reason we did it on Monday night because there was no way one of us wasn't going to see the lines before Wednesday. It just wasn't
difficult, especially now that people know we do this. That everyone's a wise ass and thinks, I'm going to let them see the line before they actually guess it.
Right. All right. So let's do the lines, and you say what you said, and I'll say what I said.
Okay. Washington at Seattle. We kick things off Saturday afternoon. What do you think?
Oh, I said I thought it was going to be 6.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you say?
I said 7, so you were closer. It's actually Seattle -4 at home against Washington.
And we were both surprised by this because Todd Collins on the road in a very, very tough place to play. I
think aside from New England, this is probably the toughest playoff. I meant to look this up, but in the last 7 years, this has got to be the toughest place to play in the playoffs, right? Other than New England?
They like to say that, but I've also seen a couple games where as soon as something goes wrong, that crowd clams up.
Yeah. But in the playoffs, I'm trying to think when they've lost there.
Well, they won last year, right?
Yeah, they won last year. They beat Washington 2 years ago there.
Right. Yeah, it's been a pretty reliable place to play. I think 4 points is the more I thought about it after the fact, I think 4 is a fair line because the way Washington is playing and the way this Sean Taylor thing, it's like there's no way to factor it in. Yeah,
I agree, but I would take Seattle at home here. I'm going to defend Chris Carter. I don't know if you saw them. They went after Chris Carter, who defended Joe Gibbs last week, I believe it was, on Inside the NFL, and I don't know. He kind of lucked out with this Taylor thing. It sucks to say, but why can't he have these guys this motivated during the regular season? I don't think it makes them look good that they're now coming around. I mean, it's good that he kept them together and he kept them focused for these few weeks, but this is a good team, and they should be playing well every week, and not some tragedy shouldn't inspire it, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. I didn't think of that. I actually missed Inside the NFL, but yeah, the one guy that seems like he's just taken off is Portis, who's been running with a real purpose, I think, the last couple of weeks, and I don't know where that was, and his fantasy owners certainly don't know where it was.
Yeah, I know. What do we do next year with him? Yeah.
But hey, speaking of fantasy, you're in your opinion the single biggest fantasy disappointment in 2007?
I didn't like that Cleo Lemon didn't step it up until week 16. I had a lot of high hopes for him. All right, well, let's just go through it. Like the first 3 picks were, what is it? It's got to be Sean Alexander, right?
I would think
Alexander
because
or Larry Johnson. I mean, those guys went 3 and 4.
Well, the only thing with Larry Johnson was that was a buyer beware.
Mm-hmm.
Like people knew that all the statistical evidence was mounted against him with the amount of carries that he'd had.
Right, tough schedule. Yep.
I would have to say, I think even with Sean Alexander and Rudy Johnson, there were some red flags. I think the single most disappointing guy, when you factor everything in, was probably Lawrence Maroney, because he's on a team that broke the record for most points in a season,
That's true.
He's the number one running back. He played, I think, 13 of the 16 games and was a fantasy non-entity.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, they scored at one point. They had like 46 touchdowns in the starting running, but he didn't have any at some point.
Right.
I remember like the middle of the year. But
although you could make a strong case for Jarius Norwood, who was everybody's big sleeper, playing 17 games, and I don't think ending up with more than 5 fantasy points in. I think he had less than 5 in 15 of the 17 weeks or something like that.
That's bad too. I had Marvin Harrison also, who had 28 fantasy points.
Well, he got hurt.
I had hoped that was going to be a good game for him, 28. But no, I'll bottom line it right now. My single most disappointing fantasy player is Tom Brady. I'm so disappointed he did so well this year. It kills me. It kills me that he went off the charts.
You know what's ironic about the Marvin Harrison thing, though, is that every year for like the last 4 years, everyone was afraid to take him because it was like, he's been doing it for so long, and then somebody would take him and he'd do great and you'd feel like an idiot. Yeah. And then this year you took him under the logic of every year we talk ourselves out of this guy and you regret it, and then you regret it.
Yeah, you try to do the math on it and like, all right, well, Manning's going to have 32 touchdowns, so what's the worst Harrison's going to do is 12 or 13, right? And then,
right. Let's go to the next game.
All right, Jacksonville at Pittsburgh, a Saturday night affair.
Ooh, we were both off on this. What did you say, Pittsburgh by 3?
I was way off. I had Pittsburgh by 1.
Oh, and I said Jacksonville by
You had Jacksonville
3.
by 3, and you were closer as it opened. Jacksonville's given 1 on the road at Pittsburgh.
I think that's going to get to 3 by game time because I have yet to hear one person make the case for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. In fact, just all these underdogs are given the best chance I remember in the opening round, right? Except for maybe Tennessee, but people expect the Giants, Jacksonville, and Washington to come out strong and possibly win those games. But
I asked, you missed Aaron Schatz from Football Outsiders was on before. I asked him the same question I'm going to ask you. If you bet on the Jags and they're down 13-3 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, are you punching yourself in the face?
Yeah, sure. I figure I lost if that's
right.
the case. I think it's the difference between saying the S word and the F word. Like if the Giants are down 7 at Tampa Bay, you're saying the S word. You're like, I'm in trouble, but it's still doable. If Tennessee is down 7 in San Diego, you're saying the F word. You're like, that's it. I lost. I can't come back. And I don't know. I think Jacksonville's right there too. I don't like them to come back if Garrard has to drop back to throw.
Yeah, because I still haven't made up my mind on this game, but the two things that worry me are the fact that they haven't really had to play from behind at all in this streak, and you have to do that at least once in the playoffs. It's just not gonna you're not gonna roll through the playoffs without being behind. And then the other thing is that everybody loves the Jags.
Everyone loves them. For like almost a month now, we've heard that Jacksonville's not only going to beat Pittsburgh, but they're going to go to New England and give them a game and possibly beat them. So you know what
else we've been hearing is a lot of I'm going to tell you what, guys. The team I'd want to watch out as far as Jacksonville, they've created the atom split the atom with the statement.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
By the way, for this next game, I'm going to break out my James Brown fake laugh for your next joke. I've been working on this over the holidays. So let's go to the next game.
Joke? All right. What's it going to be? Giants? We're going Giants at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, let's do that one.
All right, Giants at Tampa Bay.
I nailed this one. I said Giants by 2.5.
Yep. We both had it. No, we both had 3. We both said.
Oh, both 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was going to be Tampa by 2.5 until the Giants lost 4 guys in that Pats game, so I bumped it to 3. But how are you feeling in this one?
I think this is the underdog that wins. I hate to say it, but I don't know how last week's game against the Patriots affects them emotionally and whatever else. But I think they step up. I don't know. Somehow John Gruden in Week 8 figured out he'd be playing the Giants in the first round, and he sat all the starters until then. But there you go.
How does he do that with his voice?
JB. Is that the dead James Brown or the?
No, that's the current James Brown laughing at one of Bill Cowher's jokes.
I like it.
You got to watch out for that.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this game's close. I think the Giants whoop them.
Wow. Now, we always factor in with the Giants, it's always at least a half point or a point because they have more people and more degenerates gambling on them than any other team. Mm-hmm. So if let's say it was the same exact Giants roster with everything, but it wasn't the Giants, it was the Detroit Lions or somebody. Do you think this line would be higher than 3?
Yeah, probably closer to what Seattle was looking at. 4.
Yeah, probably 4, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I have to say I'm leaning toward Tampa on this one because is the center definitely out?
I heard he was questionable, and or maybe worse than questionable. I don't know.
Just the thought of the combination of Eli on the road with the second-string center just makes me nervous.
Yeah, or everyone. Yeah, Peter King loves that guy. This is the team MVP.
Yeah.
I
Peter
think
King loves a lot
Tampa
of
Bay is
guys.
one of those teams you talked about. If they go down 7, it's going to be
Absolutely.
trouble, too.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think half the league was like that because Minnesota was definitely like that too, as we saw the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They go behind by 7, the game's basically over. And then what do we have for the last game?
Did our friend Randy call in at all?
No, we're going to call him in 1 second. Let's do the last game.
Oh, we are? Yeah, because
Yeah.
the Giants, he's going to want to talk about that. Or should
Yeah.
we wait? Should we do this pick first?
Yeah, let's call him.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, our producer,
Yes.
let's call the number for Brad.
Okay.
And while you're dialing that, I'll introduce Brad. Brad worked for The Man Show, and he works for Jimmy Kimmel Live. And also, Sal won your 2007 Character of the Year.
Yeah, he's the character there, and that's saying a lot. Bill will attest, and if you read his column, we hang out with a lot of lunatics, and
Right.
and Brad's got 2 pages of crazy antics he's been involved in.
Well, Brad also, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, actually stormed out of the house midway through a Giants playoff game and didn't have a car.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know where he went, and he just was gone, and that was it.
He forgot he had his license taken away.
Brad,
Yeah.
hey, you're on the podcast. We went to you live.
Oh, fantastic.
Your buddy Sal is on the phone as well.
What's happening, Brad?
Nothing. I'm watching David Gregory dance poorly to Mary J. Blige.
Brad's
Brad-
a TV watcher for Jimmy Kimmel Live. He's pretty much going to be solely responsible, he and Jimmy, for all the comedy tonight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, your show is coming back tonight and without writers. So, Brad, you're the creative force.
Yeah, well, I'm going back to December 19th for this creativity.
Excellent. Let's
Mom's the word on that.
Brad, your beloved Giants are getting 3 points in Tampa Bay. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Are you feeling good? Are you optimistic, pessimistic? Walk us through it.
3 doesn't seem like enough, right?
Oh, wow.
You don't think? Wow.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. When's the last time they won a playoff game?
It's been a while.
When is the last time?
I can't even tell you.
You're the Giants fan. You should know that. It might have been. Was it the Super Bowl when they got to the Super Bowl? No.
No. What was the game? The long snapper game.
The Shockey game we all watched together.
Well, you left.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
No, but you left during
out.
the game. You ran out of the house in the fourth quarter. We never saw you again.
Brad's a lunatic. Let me just mention, speaking of Shockey, Brad's outfit is much dirtier than Shockey's uniform by the end of the Giant game as he slides and glides across the big screen at every crucial play.
Yeah, you do a lot of rolling and a lot of clenching and a lot of sagging to your knees and all that stuff.
It's important. It's important.
Yeah. Do you think that stuff helps or no?
Absolutely. Don't you?
I haven't seen it help yet, so I'm probably a bad person to ask. So what is your prediction for the Giants game?
I wouldn't take the point. I think they're going to win. But that's just because I'm the fan. Man, they're not that good. They really aren't.
Well, listen, last week you sent an email to me, or sent both of us, me and Simmons, saying Eli Manning's one of the few quarterbacks, you can't even remember any, that made the playoffs in his first 3 years.
Well, his first 3 years as a starter, he's made the playoffs every year.
Right.
I don't know if he's thrown a touchdown pass in the playoffs yet, but he gets there.
And then one of Bill's readers or listeners emailed and called BS on your claim and said that Dan Marino, Bernie Kosar, and that's it. You can't count Manning because Kurt Warner started and appeared in more games his rookie year.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of that. The beginning of that was one of Bill's readers. So I think, you know what I mean? Do I really have to defend myself against such a group?
you probably don't.
I mean, are we going to take their authority over mine?
I'm going to say probably not. How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10, confidence with Eli Manning?
6.
6?
Yeah.
Wow, that's high. I would have said you would have been in the 3s. No?
Threes?
I don't know. You
Sunday
complained
morning
about it
it'll
the whole
change.
year.
He'll be nervous. They'll show him in warm-ups. That'll drop to a 3. I think that line, Brad's confidence drops to a 3 before kickoff.
All right.
The weather shouldn't be so bad, though. I mean, he doesn't seem to be good in the cold, so Tampa should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to have a lot of excuses, that's for sure.
We just talked to my buddy Rob Stone, who's in Tampa, who said it's going to be a warm weather game. It's cold right now, but it will be warmer by the time the game is played, which I think helps Eli. And also, it's not like, it's not like the most intimidating home atmosphere to go into.
Mm. So. No, Tampa's not very intimidating.
All right,
it's quiet here. There's no ruckus outside.
Oh, there's
really?
no picketing.
No, there's no ruckus, but in the paper it said there would be a ruckus.
I don't think they're picketing till next week, at least our show, Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Hey, Sal, ask him the last question that you wanted to ask him about my Bobby Orr thing.
Oh, yeah. All right. Here's the thing, and this drives me crazy when people say, like, they remember things from when they were 3 years old. Like, Bill claims to have remembered Bobby Orr's last 3 good years, and that can only be 73, 74, 74, 75, and 75, 76. So 73, 74, you were what, 2.5, 3 years old?
No. I said I remembered watching the 74 playoffs when I was 4.5. And
okay.
Sal called BS on this because he said there's no way you could remember sports that far back.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, that's baloney. I don't believe that for a second. My first memory might be, I don't know. Tommy John. When did Tommy John lose to the Dodgers?
Wow.
In the World Series. That might have been 70. No, that was 80. That was 80. That was Winfield's in October.
Oh, you're a little
80 is the first thing I remember.
But Brad, maybe I have more brain cells than you. That's possible.
No, that's not possible.
He's definitely lost a lot over the years, but I think like 3 or 4 or 5. Like I think I remember seeing Fisk wave the ball fair rather. But I don't know. I've seen the highlight so many times. It might just be me remembering the highlight. But I don't think you can remember 3 or 4.
I specifically remember watching the Bruins lose to the Flyers 1-0 in the deciding game in the Stanley Cup Finals. It was like one of my first sports memories. The weird thing is, I remember a couple things from 74 and 75, but I don't remember a Super Bowl until 76. So I don't know what kicks in, what you should remember, and what you shouldn't.
It is true.
The first one I remember, I think, is Rams Steelers for some reason. But then again, I don't know how good your memory is because the Music City Miracle was, 5, 8 years ago, and you thought it was played in Buffalo.
that's a
I don't
great
know.
point.
We're supposed to believe you that you remember at 3 years old watching Bobby Orr skate around a rink and hit pucks and stuff, but you can't remember 8 years ago?
Hold on, a lot of good music has come out of the city of Buffalo. The late, great Rick James.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I can see the confusion.
That's true. I think the problem was I was probably chemically doing some things I shouldn't have been doing in 1999, and that's probably why it's a little hazy. But I'm going to say the cutoff line for a little kid is 4 years old.
No way.
I think after 4, it's realistic that you could have a sports memory of watching a game and where you watched it.
All right, here's the problem. You said the whole thing started when you said Bobby Orr's the great. You said in this voice. You said it in this voice. So you're like, Bobby Orr's the greatest defenseman of all time, and you said that. And Dameshek, our friend Dave's like, I won't argue with you, seeing as you've never seen him play. And then you argue. You said, no, I saw him play at least 2 years, 3 years. But so you're basing that opinion on 2, 4, and 5. Your 4-year-old and 5-year-old's view of Bobby Orr.
Well. But I also, during the 74-75 season, when he had 135 points, that was the first year I not only followed hockey, but collected hockey cards, which was even more important. By the way, when you do the impression of me, you make me sound like Robbie Benson, which I don't know if that's flattering or insulting, but I think it's a combination of
Actually,
both.
Robbie Benson called me to complain about it, too. So, I don't know.
All right, Brad, we're letting you go. Good luck carrying the Kimmel Show over these next few months.
It's going well so far.
All right,
yeah.
Good. It
isn't.
Keep it up.
It is.
All right, take care, Brad.
All right, be good.
Bye-bye. All right,
that's good. We kept him off the streets for 5 or 6 minutes.
That was good. Yeah, it was good. He sounded like relatively balanced. Let's go to the final line of the games.
San Diego and Tennessee.
San Diego, Tennessee. I think I nailed this one. I said San Diego by 9.
You beat me all 4, actually. We tied 1, but you beat me. I had San Diego by 7. It's 9. I don't know what to think with Vince Young. Is he playing? Is he not?
And is it good if he plays or if he doesn't play? Like, either way, they're kind of screwed, it seems like. This seems like every round one there's a blowout, and this seems like this is going to be the blowout.
This will be the one. Sunday afternoon, we'll be scratching our heads like, all right, football's done for the week, and we could leave at halftime. But I think San Diego's like a better version of Tennessee, don't you? Like tough interior defense and linebackers and unsure passing game, but San Diego has the run advantage, right?
Well, here's what worries me, though, is if they do the split screen with Jeff Fisher and Norv, and you have money on Norv, that would scare me a little.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're not getting new coaches before Sunday?
No, they're not. Jeff Fisher is a good coach, too. But, you know, we watched the San Diego-Tennessee game in Vegas a few weeks ago, and San Diego had, tried to give away the game for 3 quarters, couldn't, and then decided to win it. But that was, after that, I don't know if I could take Tennessee seriously.
No. And if Collins starts and the Redskins have already won, they're not going to be 2 Collins in the quarterfinals. They're just not. So go big on San Diego at that point.
All right, so what do you think is the wager of the week? Now, you could bet money line, straight up, 2-team tees, 3-team tees.
I'm going Seattle. I'm going against public opinion. I think Seattle smoked them. They have a distinct home field advantage, and they kick it up a gear this week.
So you're saying that everybody who rides this Redskins wave of emotion, Seattle's up 14-3 in the second quarter, and those people who wagered on the Redskins realize that they just wagered on Todd Collins.
Yeah, and Todd Collins, who's not going to be able to deal with the crowd noise and everything else, and there'll be like 4 false starts and everything, and before you know it, they'll be out of it. That's my pick.
What about a tease, 7-point tease, 2 teams, you bring Seattle to +3, and you bring the Chargers to -2.
Yeah, that should win, right?
What would you have to give, -140 to win 100 on that?
Yeah, I think it would be slightly against you, right?
Is there a 3-teamer we'd want to do this week or no?
I don't know. Like I said, I like the Giants a little bit, but not too much. And maybe the Steelers +10 or 8 or 9.
Because you definitely have 2, because the Chargers bringing them to 1 would be good. And then bringing the Seahawks to +6 would be good.
Yeah.
But for the third component, I don't totally trust any of those other teams.
I just like Seattle to advance. And then I feel like I'll lose a ton of money Saturday morning, and then that's it. I could just sit back and watch. It'll be good.
So you think Seattle's number 3. So the Cowboys, your beloved Cowboys, are locked into either the 4, 5,
Giants,
or 6 team.
Yeah, Skins, Giants, or Tampa Bay. One of those 3.
Who would you most want to play out of those 3?
I think the Giants. I don't know why. We have on their number. I think we scored like 76 points against them in 2 games, and I like them coming to us. But let me tell you, if Owens isn't playing or is unhealthy, that offense is going to be way, way out of sync, and you might just see another clunker from Romo, unfortunately.
All right, we're going to let you go. Thanks as always. Buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, good times.
All right. That was Cousin Sal from Jimmy Kimmel Live.
It's Joe House.
What's happening?
What is happening?
You're on the podcast.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we called you at work. You should be doing something worthwhile, and you're not. You're talking to me.
No comment. I'm sure I'll get in trouble if I make any.
We're only keeping you for 5 minutes.
I can handle that.
Let me know about your thoughts on the rejuvenated Redskins.
I mean, not just rejuvenated. You have to use some other words like unprecedented for this team. I mean, improbable or unlikely doesn't really capture it. You got to go further. I looked to see, whether or not Ewing theory had any potential application to this. I don't think it quite does because. Well,
I don't think it works with a dead guy.
Right. That was the key determining factor that dissuaded me from trying to use that here. But
I do have to. I might have to investigate if there's a Sean Taylor theory. Because
we might need a corollary.
Well, it does seem like there's something when a team has some sort of cause to rally around, whether somebody dies or somebody gets sick.
That's right.
It does seem like most times it pushes the team to another level.
Yeah, and it sort of fits that whole notion of chemistry that I think you used recently in an NBA column that you did.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, football, more than, at least as much as basketball, it's obvious to see how important that is.
Well, how are you feeling about Todd Collins, who admittedly has been really good these last couple weeks? How do you feel about him going into one of the toughest places to play in the NFL?
I love him. Unambiguously, really? Without hesitation, I'm there. I'm in the bag for TC.
Really? You gave him a nickname. That's nice of you.
I'll go there with him. That's how much in the 4 weeks he's grown on me.
I have to say, I've watched a lot of the Skins the last few weeks, and I don't know if it'll continue, but it was not a fluke the first 4 weeks. Like, he was like threading the needle on passes. He looked comfortable. He's scrambling around. Like, he was really good.
I almost don't want to say this because I don't want to be responsible for, in any way, shape, or form, for jinxing it, but he doesn't make those game-changing mistakes.
Yep.
So far, he's fumbled a couple times on blindside blitz stuff, but for the most part, he doesn't hold on to the ball too long, and he knows where to throw it to get rid of it appropriately. I mean, he just doesn't make those game-changing mistakes.
What is the mood in D.C. heading into this big game?
It's been one hell of an emotional ride. Do you think your readers? Well, I shouldn't insult your readers or listeners for the podcast. I was going to use the word ebullient.
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 I think I have some readers who would get that.
That's where I'm going with it. I mean, I'm beside myself. This has been, one of the weirdest seasons I could ever think of as a Redskins fan, and yet I'm on a colossal high. I'm thinking about, the Redskins playing Green Bay at the end of January.
Well, did the Joe Gibbs double timeout loss, did that come before or after Sean Taylor died?
It came immediately after.
Right. So the combo of that. After. So you had those two things happen, and they're 5-7, and not only do they have to run the slate to make the playoffs, but they need a ton of help.
Yeah, and the whole team points to a team meeting that Gibbs called the day after the funeral, the Tuesday before the Thursday night game against Chicago, as an inflection point, for the season and for the direction of the franchise. Seriously, and they've been riding a form of lightning bolt ever since. I mean, ever since the Chicago game, those games, the Giants and Dallas and Minnesota, those games weren't even close.
Right.
The Redskins kicked ass.
Well, Sal brought this up. We had Sal on right before you, and he was wondering why the Redskins needed one of their best guys to die to find the proper motivation to play the 2007 season. It's a pretty good point.
It is. It's a great point, but that's one of those mysterious things with chemistry. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it comes, through leadership. It's a top-down kind of thing. Like, I would argue that that's largely attributable to what the Patriots have done this season. And sometimes it comes from leaders on the team, like the Chargers, because they had to overcome Norv Turner.
Overcome is not a strong enough verb.
Right. The disaster that is Norv Turner.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it comes from some kind of bizarre external event. But whatever the explanation, this team has crazy chemistry. And it's a bunch of like backups and first year, second year guys that are really stepping up.
What has potential to make you cringe more in the month of January? Dick Clark on the New Year's Eve special or Joe Gibbs in a playoff game?
Oh, Dick Clark. I'm ready for Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, let's not even talk about that.
The team took on the Gibbs identity. This is a classic.
What is that identity? Senility?
Well, it was until, curiously, strangely, bizarrely, and awfully, Sean Taylor's, premature demise. There's no, coach in at least the NFL and maybe all professional sports that you would want to be the shepherd of a team that confronted something like that. You know what I mean?
Because he's such a religious, family values kind of guy.
He's a team that through his sheer force of will and belief in all that's good in the world.
That's been the most exciting part of the season after the Sean Taylor thing was that Clinton Portis finally decided to show up for the first time in 3 years for a football game.
You have to be fair to him. He has sneaky good numbers. You go back a couple, he's been sneakily resilient, reliable. He had that shoulder problem that came from a freak play in the preseason last year, and now he acquired, to me unfairly, this reputation of being dinged up. But it might have been a blessing in disguise for him to have been dinged up the way he was early this season, because he is for sure healthy now. That run he had against Dallas, where he broke through Roy Williams and I can't recall who else it was. That's a Clinton Portis style run.
So you think he's now surpassed Gilbert as the most popular DC athlete?
No.
Still Gilbert?
Still Gilbert.
Even though he's leaving your team in 4 months?
Clinton Portis needs to get a blog up and running with pictures of the stripper pole in his house.
That's right. He had the basement. What did he have? The stripper pole, and he had the mirrors in the ceiling.
Yes, that's
nice.
right. That would make him the most popular. He just needs a blog.
Yeah, or just a webcam in his basement with the stripper's pole.
That's right.
Yeah, that was, after we saw that Cribs, I was always disappointed that you didn't have that in your apartment. I was disappointed you didn't put the stripper's pole in.
It wouldn't fit.
It probably wouldn't. All right, we're going to let you go. So you're pulling a Joe Namath. You're guaranteeing a win this week.
No, I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Come on, guarantee one for us.
No, but I love the Redskins.
You love the Redskins +4.
I love the Redskins +4. Okay. That's something that I'll make that guarantee in another fashion.
Okay.
All right.
Good luck.
Late.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, for our last phone call, the host of LA's Drive Time ESPN radio show, the Dave Dameshek Show. He was on a couple weeks ago, and now he's on again. A diehard Steelers fan. Dave Dameshek, how are you feeling about this weekend?
What do you care? Let me tell you something. I don't know what I have to take. Why would take a call from the Simmons house after the way I was attacked a couple of days ago by your old lady. Can you keep the sports gal in check, please? How dare she go after my clever name on my fantasy football team?
The Cool Cats? You think that's clever?
Yeah, well, it's spelled with K's is why it's clever, which is also spelled with a K in this case.
Well, listen, I'm actually on your side in this one, and there was some marital discord this weekend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you creating that on my behalf.
On the other hand, though, it is hard to argue about her logic of you guys are grown men and you're creating these weird names for your fake fantasy teams of players that have no relation to each other.
Oh, please. She's jealous, 1, and 2. I'm sure she is exactly like millions of other women who walk around the street calling Patrick Dempsey McDreamy when you and I both know him as the boy who can't buy love.
Well, actually, she just walked in right now.
Oh, no, I don't want to speak with her now. No. I'm not going to air my dirty laundry with her on your terms. I'll meet her on my home field, and she can expect a telephone call from me and more.
All right. Well, we'll have to work on that.
We're going to hash this thing out. Rest assured. You let her know. The time is coming, but it'll be on my terms.
I think it is funny though when women complain about the fantasy sports thing, and then they throw these elaborate baby showers for one another that are all the same shower, and they just give each other gifts. They get together for 3 hours, and it's really like the greatest experience they've had the whole year. It's just these people open. It's like that for 3 hours. That's much worse
they
than
all
anything
hate
we
it
do.
too, and they all complain about it too. That's what they don't understand. See, women, they all get together for these showers, and then they complain about it behind closed doors, like, oh, it's the same thing, and you have to play these lame games. They think, here's what I assume, is that they are assuming that we all loathe our time privately when we go off and we do the fantasy football and we get together and watch football and stuff. They must assume, oh, it's miserable for them, it's a chore for them. No, we enjoy our time together, you see. And but the other thing is the greatest proof that they're jealous of our fantasy football time is the fact that they have these cockamamie Academy Award pools every year. They so desperately want to be a part of what we're about.
Well, I was going to say that, and even a better example is how now the bachelorette parties in Vegas are all the rage.
Yeah, that's another good one.
I mean, you talk about just an outright theft of something that was exclusive to guys. And women, you will now, if you go to Vegas, you will see more bachelor parties than bachelor parties in Vegas. You will.
Well, the thing that's the real shame, going back to the point that there's an assumption that we all are that we're miserable when we go off with just the fellas and leave them behind, is that now we've been drawn into these showers, couple showers for weddings and such, is the worst creation of the 21st century, because I think it is a pretty new concoction created by women, right?
It's terrible. You know, though, I think the reason they complain about the showers is because there's a pressure to come through with a really good gift, and there's a competitive pressure, whereas in our case, we just like hanging out, and there's, fantasy is competitiveness, but we don't leave the draft thinking, oh my God, I'm so ashamed. Dave did such a better job of drafting. We all feel like we drafted the best team.
That's true, and then probably primarily, which I guess is the reason for your call, is it's not competitive between you and me. We leave our teams to do our bidding, and in this case, in the 07 season of the NFL, I guess obviously you are calling to gloat about the lowly Pittsburgh.
I'm not calling. I'm not even going to mention the Patriots. All I'm concerned about is your team hosting the Jaguars. And let me tell you something. You can't ask for a better position than to be on the beneficiary of being the obvious game when you are not the obvious pick.
Well, I mean, how grim are things in Pittsburgh that they're actually a home underdog?
Amazing.
A Northern Florida team in January. It's really, it's a grim state of affairs, relatively speaking. Obviously, I guess things could be worse than being a playoff team. But yeah, the worst thing about it is that I would like the Steelers in this game under most circumstances, but now their backup left tackle is out. I'm sure you heard about this. So now Max Starks is down. So now they're left with Trey Essex to protect number 7's backside. And
that's been a problem all season.
Yeah, the offensive line's been lousy. Obviously, we don't have Fast Willie, so now we're left for Najee Davenport to carry the fate and fortune of the Steelers fans.
Wow.
So that's bad, and one of their best defensive players, Aaron Smith, is done for the year, and so things aren't looking good. But I will say this, and you can laugh all you want up there up on Mount Pius with your beloved Tom Brady. But number 7, remember what he did in the playoffs in 05, number 7, and he can absolutely not only steal the game in Pittsburgh and knock off the Jags, but if I were you, I know what you're rooting for, and that's for the Jags to lose before they go up to Foxborough. But I'd be careful what you wish for, because number 7 can go up there and steal that game.
I'm not really rooting for anything. I don't care who comes to New England. I mean, ideally, I'd love to see Pittsburgh beat the Jags and Tennessee to beat San Diego, and we'd play the winner of that game.
Well, I think that's what you're going to end up with. Is I have a hunch that you wind up seeing San Diego,
which would be outrageous. I'd be so happy.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. But either way, yeah, unfortunately, I wish I could sing the praises of Coach Tomlin's chances in his first playoff, but I just don't think their offensive line is tattered and worn. But maybe they'll be inspired by Fred Taylor's negativity, called Heinz Field terrible.
He did?
Yeah, so maybe this will light a fire under the team or something.
The thing about a Pats-Colts AFC Championship game is the Colts have all these built-in excuses now.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have Freeney and they don't have Harrison and they're playing in New England, and it's like everyone's going to expect them to lose and they have an out. Whereas, the Pats the last couple of years, we've been injured in every Colts game, and nobody ever seemed to factor that in, especially last year. But if we played, so if we beat the Colts, we'd be expected to beat the Colts. If we played San Diego and we beat them, I would find that particularly delightful because it's such an annoying Chargers team.
Well, I'm glad, first of all, I'm glad you called me to talk about the Steelers, and you promised we weren't going to talk about the Patriots.
Hey, you brought it up. You kept bringing it up. You kept baiting me.
Don't blame me. It's your show. You're
me.
in charge of it. This is the way the conversation went, and I blame you. But all right, now that we're on the subject of your filthy Patriots. First of all, Rodney Harrison, I hope even you can condemn his behavior against the Giants the other night. Even Belichick, for all of his lousy morals, came down on him pretty good. But anyway, besides that, he's there. But I think what you have to take away from the Giants game is what you better start selling, at least. Convince yourself and every other Patriots fan of, is that there's not an air of an inevitability for your Patriots. That's exactly what you're going for already with this Colts talk. That it's not a definite thing that you guys are going to win the Super Bowl, because that's the worst position to be in, is that feeling of like, let's just get this over with so that we can wear the crown already. Because it's unsatisfying. If they go all the way now and if they had slaughtered everybody in the second half of the season like they did in the first half, then all you feel is relief when you finally win, right? And now this way, now you have to feel with it being what it is now, that if they actually can beat the Jags, the Colts, and then Dallas, then this will truly be hard to argue against this being the best team of all time.
Well, especially because they would have played every relevant team in that particular season except for whoever loses the Dallas-Green Bay game.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that's very true.
And that's what everybody loses out, or nobody mentions with the 72 Dolphins is they played just a barrage of terrible teams in the regular season. They won the 3 playoff games, obviously, but in the regular season, I think the winning percentage of the teams they played was like 450 or it was definitely below 500, whereas the Pats, they beat the Chargers, they beat the Steelers, they beat the Colts, they beat the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, I talked to Pal Antonio last week on the show about this, about that same thing, is that Dolphins team didn't play a single playoff team in the entire regular season.
It's
and
amazing.
Then they were behind in the fourth quarters of both their playoff games in the AFC that season. So,
they didn't have a single convincing playoff win. Each of them, I think, was 7 points or less.
Well, I think it's going to be very. The one thing I will say is, as someone who really, really, really hates the Patriots, including Randy Moss and Belichick and Harrison and so on, that Tom Brady is about as likable a pro athlete as there is. It's hard to. It's really hard. Well, that's not a compliment to you.
I feel like it is.
What are you thanking me for? What are you?
He's my quarterback. I feel like you compliment me when you compliment my quarterback.
All right, take that compliment.
It's like you compliment one of my children. I feel like, thank you.
All right, I hear you. I guess so. Yeah, when you grudgingly offer up a kind word to 66 Lemieux, I guess I feel the same sort of pride. But
well, back to this Jags game. So the Jags are the obvious pick. You could make the counter case that the Jags are so obvious that maybe the Steelers, they're home, nobody's talking about them. And then maybe it reverts the other way, that because people are making that case, maybe it just goes back to the Jags being better.
Well, I mean, I think that, the Steelers, I'd be hard pressed to put a big wager on them, but, let's not get crazy that it's a foregone conclusion that the Jags are going to roll into Pittsburgh and win for a second time in, a month or whatever.
Second time in a month, and it would be the fourth time in a row.
I just find it hard to imagine that, any team that is going to run into, obviously, Fred Taylor and company rolled over the steel curtain when they were in their last. I find it hard to imagine that they're going to be able to do that again. And then if they can at all force David Garrard to throw, really, he's going to beat us in Pittsburgh? And on the other side, 7 is not going to be supported by the ground game. But like I keep saying, he's really pretty quietly had a nice season, and I can see him for maybe not. I don't think he carries him to the Super Bowl or anything like that, but he absolutely can get the better of this Jags team that has very little playoff experience.
Well, considering how much of a beating he's taken this season, he's had a really good season. Like, not only the sacks, but like the hurries, the hits. I saw some stat like he's basically in the top 3 of QBs who've taken the most punishment this year.
Oh, he's been destroyed. Yeah, it's really something. But yeah, so like I say, for 60 minutes, I could see maybe him pulling this one out. They're just gonna have to ride him, and don't discount Davenport either. He's his biggest problem is always getting hurt. I think he's a nice rugged back.
How are your special teams?
Well, they haven't been very good, at least with the kick coverage. They're pretty lousy, as a matter of fact.
Because I feel, I've mentioned this 3 times already in the podcast, so we'll go for number 4 here. The one thing with the Jags is that they've always had the lead in all these games. I'm not totally sold on them if they're down 13-3 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter of Garrard having to make plays. He hasn't been in that situation.
Yeah,
really,
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
So that is your goal, is to, maybe you have one drive, you get one long pass, maybe you get a special teams turnover or something. They get a penalty, they get a touchdown call back. Suddenly it's 13-3.
With a bad call. This is starting to sound like the way the Patriots have won most of their Super Bowls.
Oh, stop it. No, listen, this is the kind of way you have to win, where it's 13-3, the Jags are reeling, they don't know what happened, suddenly they can't run the ball anymore because they have to throw, and then their QB has to make plays.
I agree with you, and there's no reason to think that between Santonio Holmes and Hines Ward and so on and so forth, with number 7 throwing the ball, the Steelers can't jump on them quick and get a lead there. Yeah, that's exactly the way it's got to go for the Steelers.
Well, plus you have Heinz Field, the opposing field goal kicker, with the exception of Adam Vinatieri, always shanks that first playoff field goal. And there's a lot you could have happen that would go your way, that would have everybody who picked the Jags go, damn it, why didn't I see that coming?
Yeah, exactly. And it isn't probably good that Fred Taylor is already on record the week of the big game saying that field's terrible, already creating problems in their heads. Oh, they already have an excuse laid out there for them.
Well, also Sienna Miller also was criticizing the field.
What do you? Don't bring her up to me. I don't want to talk to her. She badmouthed it. She called Pittsburgh something that rhymes with. Actually, your old lady did the same thing. The sports gal
I know, she's
ripped
taking
on the
some
city
hits.
too. Well, I don't understand these unsolicited attacks on me.
She feels that the woman in Pittsburgh dressed like Russian women.
You know what?
That was her.
You know what? I'm gonna go. Yeah, rest assured, I'm gonna take care of the sports gal. But also, what if I tab my lovely bride to go after you, the sports guy? Then what? Then we'll see how you feel.
That would be bad. It would be retribution, I think. You
know what? I'm writing that down right now.
All right, last question. Nothing to do with football. I know you were outraged that I talked about the Sato-Miyagi matchup without including you in the whole thing. So break it down for me. Karate Kid 2, the typhoon never happens. Sato and Miyagi are going to fight to the death. Who wins and why?
Wow. First of all, yeah, no, I thought your analysis was in-depth and right on, as usual, when it comes to the Kid trilogy. But
Thank you.
Let me just say this. This may displease some people, may break some hearts, my own included, if it ever had to come to this. But Sato, listen, he's been in the homeland for the last 4 decades, probably literally 4 decades, doing one thing, and that's preparing for a showdown with Miyagi. So, I don't know. That sort of singular focus probably gives him the edge. I hate to say it, you know.
Well,
Miyagi's out there tending. What he's doing is bonsai trees, and periodically he's doing some karate. The one thing he's not doing is ever taking care of the pool at the hotel. He's at the apartment building. You understand? He's the maintenance man at the apartment building there, and he's so disciplined. That's what he teaches Daniel-san. He teaches him about discipline, and he's in there doing his bonsai trees, and it takes patience and commitment and everything else. Hey, maintenance man, take care of the pool at the apartment where we're living. It was filled with it had about 3 feet of sitting brown water in it, in the deep end. How about you take care of that, and then you get to the bonsai tree, Miyagi.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes with Miyagi. He doesn't take care of the pool. All of his cars are in terrible shape. His house is a mess. He's a drunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And meanwhile, Sato, is it Sato or Sato?
I thought Sato.
I think it's Sato. Sato is in the homeland, very successful businessman. He's got this fighting army of bad guys. And Miyagi's basically this undisciplined drunk until Daniel-san passes through his life.
And let's look at this, and from a practical perspective, I don't know how relevant this is in the sport of karate, but I will say that Sato has, 60, 70 pounds on Miyagi.
Right. Although, Miyagi, the law of physics never really matched up with Miyagi because he dismantled the 5 high school students. He took apart Kreese.
Yeah, he did take it down.
In Kid 3, he took apart. Well, Kid 3, he took apart Kreese and Terry Silva.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Yeah, well, listen, I'd love to see it, that's for sure. But I guess it can never be.
Well, now Miyagi's dead, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Miyagi passed a couple of years ago.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it's never gonna happen.
Only in our mind.
Well, good luck with the Steelers. We'd love to see you in Foxborough in a couple weeks.
All right, that's our plan. Our plan is to pay you a visit up there in about a week and a half.
And is your show, is it streaming live? Do you have podcasts? What's going on with that?
Yeah, both things. You can, it's on 710 ESPN from 4 to 7 in the PM, out here on the West Coast. And, you can also podcast it if you go to 710ESPN.com and, go to Dave Dameshek page.
And I make a couple appearances from time to time.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah. If not, we definitely have to get together. We've got, Jeffrey Ross, the king of the roast, is roasting Mike and Mike next week, and before that, just as a little warm-up, he and Cousin Sal are going to go head-to-head again, a rematch. Cousin Sal destroyed him pretty good their first go-round, and Jeff Ross is coming in, like I say, to sharpen his teeth and also to hopefully redeem himself. I'd like nothing better than for you to be around and maybe be a judge on who wins this round.
I'm in. Count me in.
All right, good. Well, we're looking to do that sometime next week. In the meantime, all the best to you, and Happy New Year to your wonderful Boston teams.
Thank you very much. You as well.
All right.
Talk to you later. All right, that's going to be it for the big playoff podcast. That was the longest podcast we've ever done. And if you listen to the whole thing, I'm either honored or I don't know how I feel because that's a long time to listen to anybody. My apologies for not getting to Seattle fan Kevin Jackson because we hit our time limit. And also my apologies for not having any Jacksonville friends because I don't know anybody who roots for the Jaguars. If I did, I would have had you on. Anyway, enjoy the football games, and we will be back next week with another expanded edition of the Round 2 podcast.
Target % off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.